Hello and welcome everyone to StudyTravel TV Live. I'm Bethan Norris, Senior Editor of StudyTravel magazine, and I'd like to introduce you to a live news programme where we'll share news, statistics and invite industry people to discuss topical items.
Hello everyone, I'm Josh Walton, Staff Journalist at StudyTravel magazine. So let's have a look at our main story this week. We're going to start with some positive news first, as Canada has confirmed that from July 5th, international students and other permitted passengers will be able to enter the country without the requirement to quarantine.
Fully vaccinated travellers who are permitted to enter Canada, which includes international students with a study permit, will not be required to stay at a government-approved hotel and will not need to self-isolate for 14 days or take a COVID test on day 8.
And in a similar announcement from Europe, Germany has become the latest major study destination to announce a relaxation of entry rules for fully vaccinated passengers, and has also expanded its safe list of countries with no restrictions in line with the latest EU recommendations. The federal government announced that from June 25th, fully vaccinated travellers from countries outside the European Union will be allowed to enter Germany for any purpose without quarantine. So, Julia, this is very good news for language schools in Germany. Every market report StudyTravel magazine has done on Germany has shown it to have the most even distribution of student nationalities in the world, with no market more than 10% and none of the top 10 markets on the travel ban list. Which markets in particular do you think this announcement will encourage to travel the most?
It's difficult to say, Joshua, at the moment. I mean, we are very happy having this relaxation at the moment, but I think we have to wait a couple of more days or weeks until we can really say who's first. I mean, we were quite happy to welcome a lot of European students in the past few weeks. And I've spoken to a couple of schools yesterday, and they were quite, positive, thinking that it will also start with the non-EU countries. Most of them expect the US and Japan to be first in traveling. So let's see how everything will develop.
And Gavin, do you think South Africa should not be on this direct ban list?
Certainly. South Africa, we shouldn't be on any of these lists. Our lockdown policies have been second to none around the world. So we were quarantined straight away. We weren't allowed to go anywhere, and we just feel that we've been done by. But I know there's quite a lot of marketing, lobbying going on from South African government and different governments around the world to sort of get us off these red lists, because our main tourism side of things are from places like the United Kingdom. America's starting to travel now quite nicely. Germany will always find ways to get here, and we've got some great flights still coming in from Europe, such as KLM, Turkish, Qatar, Ethiopian. So people are getting to us, and one of the first set of people to get to us were the German people. So, Julia, we love you guys. Thank you very much indeed, and keep up the good work. That's me.
And Julia, the top student market for the last 3 years in our StudyTravel market reports on Germany has been China. Given that many governments stance against China's policies regarding ethnic minorities and the fact that some governments are asking China to be more transparent about the origins of COVID-19, do you think Chinese students will still be looking to travel as much for study?
I think so, and we hope so. We have differences politically, that for sure, but we've seen it with the United States over the past few years, there were still people traveling to the US, and some of them have chosen Canada, for example. And that could be the same with China as well, that some Chinese students will maybe not traveling to Germany or to some other countries. But to be honest, I think there are so many Chinese students willing to come. So I think there are still enough students we can welcome here in Germany, and I don't think that the majority is having a real problem with the situation. And no, I think I'm still positive.
The Student Academic Experience Survey 2021 was compiled by the Higher Education Policy Institute, or HEPI, and Advanced HE, and completed by 10,186 undergraduate students in the UK between February and March 2021. The overall perception of poor or very poor value for money of the present course was 44%, an increase from 31% in the previous survey, while 27% indicated good or very good scores. Julia, this must be an issue globally with international students having a very different experience during their studies than pre-pandemic. How have language schools in Germany been able to ensure that their existing international students have been having a valuable experience during the pandemic?
Well, the most important experience is actually getting to know the different country and the different culture. This was not possible during the whole period of COVID-19. So our partner schools definitely made the best out of it and tried to offer hybrid lessons, so where you combine people, online class and face-to-face class, which was quite good. And I think everyone did a huge effort that it really worked very well. But the most important part, to get to know the country, to get in contact with Germans, this was not possible. And to be honest, I mean, everyone tried its best, but some things you can't, you can't force. So I think the positive part was that groups in general were smaller, so it was more personal from the tuition side. But the missing contact in between the students and the contact to the Germans, this is something we couldn't offer at all, which is a real pity, because I think this is one of the main reasons why to travel to another country and to learn a language.
And during this time, are there any innovations that you think have been developed that are here to stay, kind of online programs or anything that you've noticed particularly?
They did a great job, and I think from the technical part, everyone, learned a lot, and it worked quite well. But to be honest, in my opinion, the real experience is to get to know the people and to live, the way of life of the country you're choosing for your language experience. I'm really hoping for better times after the pandemic, to be honest.
And Gavin, do you have anything to add to this from your end?
Yeah, well, I totally agree there with Julia. It was, the online experience became a must for everybody, teachers and schools. But everybody became so innovative, and it was so good to see, people trying to give an experience. Like, here in South Africa, everybody comes down to the school to learn English and then do all the trips and the tours, the safaris, the shark cage diving, and all these guys went online. So you could actually go on a safari on the screen, and it was just amazing what some of the ideas that people were coming up with. But there's any other where the language is spoken, English or German or whatever. So I totally agree with what Julie said, and we're hoping for better times.
Brilliant, thank you. And in another news story dealing with program innovation this week, Lexis Korea, part of the Lexis Education Group, has launched a new Korean language and cultural program student visa package in partnership with Sejong University in Seoul. which will enable students to travel while COVID-19 tourist visa restrictions remain in place. The 20-week special edition course has been co-designed by Lexis Korea and Sejong University and is designed to maximize students' Korean language learning and K experience.
Things must be difficult in South Africa at the moment with ongoing curfews. How are language schools ensuring that international students are experiencing some of the local?
Okay.
I think that was local culture.
Yeah, yeah, I heard, I got half of it as well. I've got my notes here, which is quite nice. Yes, exactly. You know, we're in 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, coming back down to 10 o'clock. You know, the students are just adapting to it, and it's we're not having any problems with that side of things. But I know that the more outgoing types of students that we have, they plan. You know, they plan themselves, and so we don't have a problem with that. Students are still getting the experiences of all the attractions which are open, the waterfront all over. So going away on 2-day safaris, all the museums are still open. So for us, it's just a shorter day and fit more in, which the students are fully accepting, and of course sticking to all the COVID protocols. So we're happy.
Great. And Julia, German language schools have been developing their own academic preparation programs for some time now. Do you think this trend has been accelerated by the pandemic? For example, will we see more schools delving into this sector during and after the pandemic?
It's a very important product for language schools in Germany and for international students, of course. The reason is that German language studies are on a very high quality level and free of charge. I mean, tuition is free of charge, which is very difficult to find in a lot of other countries. So students are very keen to stay on after their language course doing their studies. So they need a preparation. That's why schools did develop that product even more. You're right.
Okay.
But,
sorry,
Josh,
Gavin. Yes.
Can I just add, there's one important point I actually missed there as well. We're finding a better attendance in the mornings from my students since the curfew is and the bars close so early. So it's actually been a positive thing as well, the curfew. Great,
thank you. Okay, so let's have a look at another story from the last few days. Agency news this time. A recent survey of Japanese agencies revealed that the number of international students sent overseas by JOS members decreased by 76% in 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The survey of 43 study abroad agency members of the Japan Association of Overseas Studies conducted in March this year shows that 18,374 students were sent overseas last year, compared with 77,953 students in 2019. Agency Association JOS has published guidelines for agencies counselling students about study abroad, which will ensure that they place the highest priority on safety and health in respecting the desire of students to pursue opportunities overseas, B, provide students with information on possible risks and assist in making the best judgment in pursuing study abroad opportunities, and C, provide risk management advice based on the collective experience and knowledge of member organisations for those that choose to study overseas. Julia, the Japanese are known for being the most safety conscious of all student travellers, whilst the Germans are among the most adventurous. Do you see FDSV following JOS with a set of guidelines like these?
We try to combine maybe the safety part with the adventurous part. I think that's a good balance we offer here. So we have a very safe country here, to be honest. And over the whole pandemic, our political situation was quite stable, and we managed to get over it quite well. Beside this, the health system in Germany is also known as a very a good one, and beside all the basic things you need to come to a country, I think it's also very important that agencies advise students of the yeah, the safe corridor they're traveling to. I think it's important to get the schools and the agents into the boat and try to advise a student beforehand what they can expect. And I can just assure you they can expect a high quality language course in a very safe environment. But not missing the pleasure part. So we still try to be as adventurous as possible. And yeah, maybe another thing, you reported about the student protection plan a couple of weeks ago. So we announced it at the beginning of the year. And I think this is another nice safety part for agents to send students to Germany, knowing that FDSV members are offering the student protection plan. I think that's also a very positive part we have changed at the beginning of 2021.
And thank you, Julia. And Gavin, you have represented Education South Africa at international events previously. Has the association produced a set of guidelines for all member schools?
Oh, absolutely. We what we decided to do with the tourism industry, because we lump ourselves with the tourism industry, education, tourism, all different types of tourism. We decided to be and help our government. We don't know too much about things, which is normal, I think. So we decided that what we would do, we would start to put a set of guidelines in for protocols, for classrooms, for hotels, for trips and the tours and the vehicles and whatever. So we as EdUSA got together and we produced quite a comprehensive list of protocols, which was then sent over to GALA, which is, thanks to Scotland, whatever, GALA, the Global Alliance of English Language Associations, adopted, and we adopted a nice set of protocols for all those, to help all those different associations around the world. So yeah, very much proactive in making sure that the COVID protocols are in place.
And have these also been sent to the agency associations, these protocols and guidelines?
I believe so, through GALA. I think it's probably something we should certainly check. But things are always evolving and things change, So I think probably we'd do an update to the agents associations to help and people like that.
Thank you, Gavin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Knott, news editor of StudyTravel magazine. I'm just jumping in as Beth has one or two technical issues with her internet there. So let's take on another story. Bear with me. And the US Department of Homeland Security has announced that it intends to withdraw proposals on fixed term limits for student visas, a move that has been welcomed by the international education sector. The proposed changes were announced last year under the Trump administration, but were not enacted before Trump left office.
Under the proposed changes, students from countries with overstay rates above 10%, as well as those from nations designated as sponsors of terrorism, would have been limited to 2-year visas. The changes would have also imposed an absolute limit of 24 months on English language study. The DHS, under the Biden administration, has now signalled its intention to scrap this proposal on visas.
So Gavin, we heard in our last StudyTravel TV live program that international student enrolments to the USA have been declining for some years now, partly due to regulatory changes introduced by an administration unsympathetic to international students. How much do you think other English-speaking destinations such as South Africa benefited from this decline in popularity for the USA? And how do you think the new administration might change that situation?
Yeah, Matthew, definitely there's been an increase. When Mr. Trump was in power, we used to get agents sort of saying, the reason I'm coming to South Africa is because I don't want to send my students to that country. Well, that was an open, everybody knew about that. So that was really good for us. As well, unfortunately, at this present moment in time, a lot of places like Australia, which are closed, we're getting a lot of traffic diverted to us from those types of places. The people that maybe on a gap year want to come and learn English can't wait for these destinations to open. So countries like South Africa are really good. Italy is a typical example, can't get into the UK, so they're coming to us. Nice big groups of Italians coming down in the next few weeks. So we are happy that unfortunately happy for us, which are getting some new business from different countries, which would normally have gone elsewhere. Can't really say about the new Biden, the Biden administration, but suffice to say that I believe that Mrs. Biden was an English teacher, an EFL teacher, and so that she's probably going to promote that as an industry, which is a good income generator, forex into the country. And I just wish South Africa would take its lead and start to promote South Africa as an EFL destination. But unfortunately, we don't have any of that support at the moment.
And Julia, do you think non-English speaking destinations have benefited from the USA's decline in popularity? For example, are more international students looking to undertake university studies in Germany?
I mean, English is still the most important language, to be honest. But you're sure, I mean, the past years with the Trump administration definitely forced some students to choose another country, I'm sure. But I mean, Germany is quite well known as a destination to have a very high quality universities and good opportunities to study, especially for free. So I think this is the most important reason maybe why students look for Germany as a study destination.
Okay, we'll go back to Australia now, where South Australia has had its proposals to bring international students into the state with the use of a dedicated quarantine facility approved by the federal government. The Flight Training Adelaide site at Parafield will be utilised as a quarantine facility for the South Australia scheme and will be able to house 160 students at a time who will complete their 14-day quarantine period and undertake daily COVID-19 testing.
Julia, 160 students is a drop in the ocean, but given the numbers able to enter Australia would increase, would this make it more attractive for German students to go there?
It's a start, but it's a drop in the ocean. You're absolutely right. 160 is not a lot, but it's not the most important study destination for German students. So we are happy that it starts again, and even with 160 students for quarantine possibilities, so it's fine, and we'll see how things are getting developed. So I'm still positive that it's getting better, and maybe more students can travel to Australia in a couple of weeks' time.
Let's hope so. Okay, we'll take another story to discuss. Some language schools in the UK have received a funding boost recently as RALSA, an association representing accredited UK English language schools in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, has been awarded £100,000 to deliver a specialist marketing project to agents as part of post-pandemic recovery efforts. The Regional Accredited Language Schools Association has received the Bounce Back Challenge Fund grant from the local council for activities designed to promote the area's English language schools and their services.
The grant will be used to promote the area to agents in more than 90 target markets through virtual familiarisation trips of the area and local English language schools, face-to-face fam trips once international travel permits, and business-to-business events to bring schools and agents together. RALSA said the project is focused on directing the attention of international agents, students, their families and friends towards the area and its English language schools.
Gavin and Julia, this is an interesting development where clearly the local council has recognised the significant value of the language travel market in this particular area of the UK and is willing to fund their marketing activities. Do you think the language travel sector in Germany and South Africa is valued enough by your local and national governments? And what opportunities are there for outside financial help for language schools?
In Germany, it's quite difficult because, I mean, we are still a very small sector, the language business. I think it's not, you can't compare it with the language sector in UK. So I think it's great that that there's a marketing boost for the language school development. We would appreciate to have the same here in Germany, but I think we would have to wait very long until we get the same boost here as the UK. So I'm still hoping. I'm very much welcoming this, boost or marketing boost for the UK. And let's hope that we can target many more students to the Bournemouth area.
Gavin?
Yeah, well, as everybody knows, our government really don't have a clue about many things apart from stealing the money. They don't recognise our sector, which is quite unfortunate, because our sector is a growing sector and could really sort of give some good money into the GDP or whatever. However, I have to say that some of our we have Cape Town Tourism, West Grow, they really are embracing what they can do for us, how they can help, because it's like regional types of tourism. So on that side of things, but funding and whatever, we get little bits of help from, as I say, our local governments to sort of help in promote a show or go on a show or whatever. But from national government, absolutely nothing. We've got no idea. And so yeah, it's sad, and I wish some people like Bournemouth would really look at that for us in this country. So yeah, it's a sad situation.
Oh,
but we carry on.
Okay, thank you, Gavin. Let's quickly run through a few more headlines from the last few days before we take some questions from the audience.
UK-based ELT provider International House Manchester has announced a new research project with Immerse VR on using immersive virtual reality to bridge the gap between on-site classroom learners and remote students.
Specialist sports provider Choices International has announced a partnership with English Premier League football club West Ham United to launch a year-round academy of football.
StudyTravel Limited has announced the winners of its Digital Design Challenge, which was open to all our organisations in the study travel industry to create adverts for digital advertising formats on the Study Travel network.
Bright Scholar Holdings Limited, the overseas division of China schools operator Bright Scholar Education Holdings Limited, which acquired CATS colleges in 2019, has announced a rebrand as CATS Global Schools.
And just over 25,000 international students remained in New Zealand at the end of April, according to data released by Education New Zealand, which has also revealed tertiary enrolments for 2020, growth in offshore study, and findings from a survey of agents.
That brings us up to date with all the news and goings on in the industry. At this point, we'll completely open up to the audience to see if there are any questions for our guests or for the Study Travel team. These can be on any of the stories or topics we've discussed, but please make sure that your organisation and your name are in your Zoom name or stated in the question.
Josh, I might have to rely on you to keep an eye on the chat box because I'm sharing the screen.
Yeah, so there aren't currently any in the chat box, but we did have a couple of reader questions submitted. The first one would be for either really, so I'll kind of see if any of you have a response for this one. Have you had any experience dealing with virtual reality programs recently, or students looking for these types of courses? Just mentioned in one of our other headlines, the Choices International story, introducing some virtual reality programs.
It's International House Manchester.
So sorry.
No, we haven't had any requests for anything like that here at International House in Cape Town. As I say, I think we are more of an exotic luxury destination where people want to come study and also do a little bit of travel. So, you know, I think probably more the UK and places like that would be more interested in the virtual types of thing.
We have started some efforts to get the members together in regards to virtual reality, but the majority wasn't really, very much interested in virtual reality. So we keep this project and try it again in a couple of months. That's the status at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Josh, have we got anything? I can see a bit of activity flashing up there.
No questions, just a few comments. Stating obviously students want to get out there, go to the country and have the experience firsthand or face to face. But there is another topic we can touch on, just kind of cover enrollments really. How are enrollments generally in South Africa at the moment, Gavin?
Well, surprisingly good, I think, considering, I think, the schools that made it through within part of Education South Africa. We are what we call at the moment in our Saudi season. So we have had a lot of enrollments from Saudi Arabia and the Middle East throughout the schools. Then, of course, we have the Italian groups, which are coming in quite nicely as well. And some of the Europeans, the Spanish, the Germans, the Swiss, all starting to emerge. And our biggest market here in South Africa is Brazil. And I see there's a couple of Brazilian agencies here. Lovely to speak to you and see you. But they're struggling with flights at the moment. So we've got we're quite restricted with flights from South America. But hopefully they're going to start to come back on track. And as long as nothing happens with regards to the pandemic, we're looking quite good for future business. I think, and I speak on behalf of all the EduSA schools. We are pleasantly surprised about the amount of students, the enrollments, and the forward book, which we're obviously looking at. So yeah, fingers crossed, we're going to have a good. Because we're in our winter at the moment. As you can see, I've got my jumper on. It's about 18 degrees outside, so it's quite cold for us. And we just hope and pray that this continues and we can carry on teaching.
It's about 18 degrees here, Gavin, in the summer.
Is it? Oh, well,
yeah, we've got the same temperature. So.
Well, that's right. Well, I remember I'm English and I moved here for that reason, so I think it's good.
Concerning Germany, the bookings in our outbound column aren't so great at the moment. We unfortunately lost the UK business, summer business. So this is one of our most important destination, as you know. We have to target to Malta and Ireland, and some of them are going to Jersey for the English-speaking countries. In regards to the German market, it's quite positive. Our school members are reporting about 60 to 75% in regards to 2019. So we started quite well, and we hope and expect a good summer in regards to Germany or German studies in Germany. So let's hope, and let's hope that the Delta version of COVID is not coming to Germany and to all other countries. So that's something we all hope very much.
Well, it's good to hear that the bookings are picking up. Have you got any more questions?
Doesn't look like there are any more. No, just a few more comments, but no further questions in the chat box.
I think if I can just say as well, it's everybody's going on about the vaccinations and about whether countries are going to accept people that are not vaccinated. I think this is quite an important point, which I don't think anybody's aware of, which country is going to impose what and what are the rights of people. So I think this is going to show over the next few months and years, and it's going to affect us in the travel, in the sort of language travel business. It's more of a point, not a sort of question or whatever. So yeah, and we're just rolling out our vaccination program very slowly here. I think we now just started today on the over 50s. So some of us over 60s have already had it, which is good. All the health workers doing, but yeah, we're quite a way off getting the vaccines. But interesting times ahead with regards to countries that are only going to accept people that are being vaccinated.
It's certainly starting to see that sort of differentiation and the UK has announced plans to do that for the amber list countries possibly from next month. We've just heard today.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, if there's nothing else there, Josh.
We've actually
got
just
one.
had one question pop in. So from David Blackie, does that affect readiness to stay in host families, Gavin? What we've just been talking about, the vaccinations.
Yeah, you know, the South African families are very resilient with regards to everything, and you know, it's going to be a long time before a lot of these families are vaccinated. So they are accepting students, whether they've had vaccinations or whether they haven't had vaccinations. So we don't see that as a stumbling block for entry into South Africa, and I don't think it ever will be, because we're so slow in getting our own vaccinations out there. We can't put rules and regulations into countries that are far ahead of us. So David, definitely, I don't think host families are going to worry about receiving. Now, whether or not a student coming to South Africa is going to ask for a host family that is vaccinated is another question. We haven't had that as yet, but I'm sure it probably would come, and I'm sure that we have families out there that are vaccinated anyway. So yeah, good question.
Do you have any insight on that, Julia, as whether that's something that parents are sort of asking, whether the situation with the host families and whether they're vaccinated or not?
It's a good question. We were discussing this with a couple of members the other day, because especially the younger ones aren't vaccinated yet and won't be vaccinated over the next couple of weeks or months. So in regards to junior traveling, it is definitely a big thing. At the moment, it's still quite easy to find host families taking students because we aren't back to 100%, so we can still try to find the right host family for the particular client. I don't know what's going on in a couple of months' time, so still it's fine, but it will be definitely a question. People here in Germany are vaccinated more and more. I think we are about 40–45% at the moment, but not the younger students or the children of the host families, maybe. So to cover everything, there will be still a quite long way to go.
Thank you. Just one more question that's come in as well. This one from agency Pekajan. Is it possible for Malaysian students to apply for visa without German language proficiency or proof, you know, a certificate proving language proficiency in German?
That's a good question. So the embassies are not fully back on the road, let's say. You should apply, definitely. I've spoken to a couple of member schools the other day, and there's no, let's say, clear way of proceeding visas at the moment. So I think they need some more time to get back on the normal working days and processing. So please apply for it, and we are quite positive that visas will be accepted for your students.
Thank you. Just another question, this one a bit more general, so for both, whoever wants to take this one first, but do you see a good future in blended learning models? So hybrid learning, mixing online or virtual with face-to-face and in-person classes?
I think it was a great compromise, or it still is during the pandemic. That's my opinion. I know from a lot of inquiries coming in that students are really looking for the full immersion, getting to know the other students from all around the world, getting to know Germans, for example, or the other way around, our outbound students, getting to know the culture of the country they've chosen for their language day. So I think this is a very important thing that in the future, after the pandemic times, the majority would choose definitely the face-to-face class. It's still a great compromise and opportunity we have with the hybrid class, and some schools will maybe keep it, as a possibility. It could be also an advantage. For example, a student could start a course earlier, and then once a student arrives in Germany, they can continue their studies in a face-to-face class, and they can start online, for example. So there are some advantages in both directions. But after the pandemic, I think the majority is really keen in having the full immersion and not having online classes.
Thank you. And that question there from Theo at Global Education Counselling. Gavin, do you have anything to add for that, or any programs at IH Cape Town?
Well, actually, no, we don't. I certainly see a future there within the blended learning models. And Theo, it's a great question. I know that a lot of the international house schools, Belfast, Manchester, Portsmouth, and a few of the schools like that have certainly done well on this, and certainly been the front runners in a lot of this. For me personally, I'm a bit of an old school types of person, and for me personally, blended learning is not an option, but I certainly see it, and it's something that I think we have to look at over as schools, as international schools. But yeah, I'm very much a little bit like Julia. I think it was a good thing, but for us going forward, it's probably something will take quite a few years to get in. I think people are fed up of actually sat in front of the TVs, in front of the computer screen, and do like the face-to-face. So yeah, there are certainly some good schools out there which are doing this, but it's not for us at the moment.
Great, thank you. And that's it for our questions in the chat box.
Okay, all right, thank you, Josh, and thank you everyone for the questions there. So that looks like the end of our audience Q&A section, which brings us to the end of this week's StudyTravel TV Live. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to come along to the next one, visit the StudyTravel TV Live page on the ST network, which you can find under the StudyTravel magazine section in the menu. We'll be announcing the guest speakers for the next broadcast on this page, and you can also find the recording of this episode, which will be there from Monday morning, and all the past episodes there in the listing at the bottom.
Finally, we'd like to just say a big thank you to our special guests, Julia and Gavin.
Absolutely.
And thank you again to our sponsor, Londonist. We'll be hosting these broadcasts every fortnight on Friday. So the next one will be held on the 9th of July at the same time, 4 p.m. British Summer Time. We hope to see you there. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for the invitation, and thanks for bringing the industry together.
Yeah,
thank you.
Excellent. Great to have you.
Thanks.